All right, my friends, welcome back. Today we're going to do another reaction video, and this one is, honestly, I've just been waiting to do it. I've tried to schedule this one in for months now, and I always had something else that got more interesting or was maybe a little more timely, and this one's all for me. And it is the 1988 Dodge Dynasty and Chrysler New Yorker Motorweek Retro Review, because here's the deal. These cars were stretched and massaged versions of K-cars, the K-car platform. And you look at the Cadillacs of the day, or you look at the Lincolns of the day, and if you've watched my channel, you know there's something here. You know, they're square. They're not as styled. They're not as structurally rigid. They're maybe not as powerful. Maybe they're not as loaded with technology, but there's something really nice about them. I don't want to overstate it, but almost timeless. Almost timeless, because these cars do it for me. I had a friend of mine, well, I was growing up, his father was an engineer, one of the brightest men I've ever met, and he bought only Dodge products along with MG and Triumph. So, you know, say what you will. He believed in Dodge products and Chrysler products, and they had, I believe it was a New Yorker. It might have been a Fifth Avenue, but I think it was a New Yorker. And the fact is that Chrysler has this image of kind of dowdy. The K-car platform wasn't really going to be ever as competitive with, say, what Cadillac was doing. But it was a really nice vehicle. Really comfortable seats, a little bit of a boring dash, but it ended up being a really nice vehicle. And it's one of those vehicles where if I had $2,500, you know, if me and some other YouTubers got together and we were going to be like, here's $2,500, go pick an 80s luxury car and, you know, whatever, you know what I'm talking about, right? This is what I would try to find. I would like to have one and spend some time with it and kind of understand its foibles. So I'm super excited to watch this. It's 7 minutes long, and see what Motorweek said about it when it's brand spanking new.
Motorweek is made possible by Rock Auto, Tire Rack, and Die Hard.
Well, hello and welcome again to Motorweek 88. We're glad to have you with us. You know, in the last few years, fans of big American luxury cars have sometimes had a hard time getting what they wanted. Downsized efforts like the Cadillac DeVille, Buick Electra, and Oldsmobile 98 got little applause from this group. Well, Chrysler took a good look at GM's unpopular effort to downsize traditional luxury, and now they think they have a better solution. The result is the largest Chrysler front drive design yet, the 1988 Dodge Dynasty and this Chrysler New Yorker. But with the solution comes a question. Why has Chrysler built two new sedans for what seems to be a rapidly shrinking audience?
So let's just jump in and say, you know, it's so funny to look back at the 80s. I'm so in love with this time. The more I read, the more I remember, the more I love it, because we had these gigantically huge, wasteful, inefficient, gas-guzzling land yachts, and they downsized to something that today would still be considered pretty freaking big, and people were complaining about it. Now, you know, I don't envy automakers, I guess is what I'm saying. They knew what they had to do. Regulations were showing that they had to do it. They had to get their gas mileage up. And later, we saw the Japanese with their smaller, you know, luxury-ish cars coming along, and people were complaining about the American cars not being big enough when they were still huge compared to what you could get, you know, from BMW or, you know, many Mercedes at the time. So this is interesting, and how interesting they put it that Chrysler's answer was to upsize a front-wheel drive platform. So buyers are unhappy that GM got smaller, but they're going to be happy that Chrysler went up. I don't know how that works, but I'm sure we'll see more of the styling here. If you don't like the styling, If it's too square, too rectangular for you, I understand completely. But this car does it for me. It really does. Anyway, let's watch some more.
The answer lies in a basic Chrysler marketing strategy. Find product niches that other manufacturers are ignoring and fill them with models that can be developed at modest cost. Such is the reasoning behind the Dodge Dynasty and Chrysler New Yorker. These so-called Chrysler C-bodies may just be the last square-cornered cars ever produced in America. Chrysler hopes their right-angled bodies will appeal to older buyers that demand cars that look large outside, are large inside, and have the bonus of more up-to-date technology.
That's a great observation because for all the world, you know, with some cues up front, these look like the downsized Cadillacs with that squared off rear window. And I like those Cadillacs too. I think they're boring. They're uninspired. But I like the cleanness of the lines. They never quite get classic, right? They're not going to, I don't think they're ever going to reach the classic level, and I don't think that this body style will for Chrysler either. But I find it very crisp. I really, really like it, and I think they're right. This is the last squared off American luxury cars we really see. I mean, certainly Cadillacs, they retained their edges, but they became more longer, swoopier. So, I like what he said. I mean, back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, this is the kind of car I would have loved. Again, I had a Buick Regal, and it was for all the world. It was a rectangle with a cut-off back window. I mean, this is my body style, guys. This is my jam right here.
At first glance, these Chrysler C cars favor older GM styling. The large vertical front grille and gently sloping hood remind us of decade-old Cadillacs. The main front-end difference between the two models is in the headlights. The New Yorker uses hideaway units, and the Dynasty flush halogens.
I am not sad that hideaway headlights went away. Same with pop-ups. I mean, I do miss the first generation Miata and its pop-ups, but you know, I've seen so many Corvettes with one up and one down that that is an unnecessary expense that I'm glad went away.
Both cars have thick rear roof pillars, almost vertical back glass, and a high boxy tail. The Chrysler C-car styling makes no attempt at rounding off anything. The upside of this approach, however, is a nearly gigantic trunk and a bumper height liftover sill. Move inside and there are more clues about the kind of buyers Chrysler is wooing with the...
Oh my goodness. Oh, look at them seats. Oh, that speaks to me, gentlemen and ladies watching this. That, again, my Buick Regal they were cloth, but they had the pillow top seats. This, you know, you're not taking a corner in these unless you're hanging onto that armrest right there. But man, does that not look like a comfortable place to spend some time.
Dynasty and New Yorker. It's an interior meant for broader waistlines and taller hats. The seats are soft, pillowed living room chairs, inviting you to sink in. Tilt wheel and power seats are available. Those seats, along with tactile electric window switches, are conveniently located on the door panel. The dash is also full of squares and rectangles, heavy on the plastic wood, but light on chrome.
So this is, wow, where to start? Number one, I need to look back at that. I think the interior door handle was horizontal in the armrest. You picked it up like this, not, you know, like this. That's pretty cool. I've never noticed that. But most of this, mid-80s American ergonomics. Just throw it on the door. Oh, that stuff's stuck vertically. That'll be great. That's fine. That should be there. That's great. Let's throw it at the dashboard. Oh, make it digital. Digital looks like the future. And squared off binnacle. Binnacle. I mean, I like it. I kind of do. But for what's a luxury-ish car, I mean, let's remember we're a couple years away from swoopy, you know, This is a very old-fashioned. This strikes me as an early 80s Cadillac Dashboard. It's a little more attractive, but that let's make a rectangular bin and then cram everything into it, and then just, there's something going on over there for the passenger. No, this could have been a lot more foresightful than it actually is. This is a little disappointing.
There is also a retractable cup holder, a Chrysler novelty that is always appreciated. One surprise for traditional American Luxo buyers might be the unusually complete instrumentation, a good recent Chrysler tradition. Analog oil pressure, coolant temperature, and voltage readouts are standard on the New Yorker and Dynasty. Even the Landau's digital package is full of the right information. There is no tachometer offered, but Dynasty New Yorker buyers won't miss that anyway. The New Yorker Landau also includes a trip computer for keeping track of those long trips to see the kids. And as expected, rear seat room is also plentiful, with entry aided by wide, squarish doors. Chrysler provides reading lamps on the rear pillars, but rear shoulder belts are absent. And if you order one of the available Infinity sound systems, rear headphone jacks are included, something the young, and even the young at heart, should love. Power for all this luxury comes from the familiar 2.5-liter four-cylinder that is standard on the Dynasty, and from this new Mitsubishi-made 3-liter V6. While optional at Dodge, this overhead cam port fuel-injected engine is standard on both the Chrysler New Yorker and New Yorker Landau. The Chrysler C-Cars are the only sedans that get this V6 this year, since most of the supply will go to Chrysler's minivans. Power ratings are sound 136 horsepower and 168 pound-feet of torque.
Your luxury car effortlessly gliding down the interstate with 136 horsepower. And that's the upgraded V6 engine that they had to go get from Mitsubishi. Oh, mercy, how slow was the four-cylinder in the Dynasty. It's painful to think about. I don't think this engine is not smooth, the V6, but just, wow, what a joke of a, what a joke of a horsepower. I don't know. I want to say something more about it, and I can't. It's disappointing, but it is what it is in the 80s, and while Chrysler was trying to develop their own V6s.
That's good enough to give the 3-speed automatic only Dynasty New Yorker 0 to 60 acceleration of 12.1 seconds and quarter-mile times of 18.7 seconds at 77. Overall, this straight-line performance is average for a family sedan. But handling is expectedly less so. This is a soft car for soft people. It rolls a lot.
Dang, that's insulting. This is a soft car for soft people.
And has a mushy feel. However, it doesn't float after hitting a bump, and owners will find its highway comfort very acceptable. Brake performance on the Dynasty New Yorker can range from average to exceptional. That depends on whether buyers order the optional 4-wheel disc anti-lock braking system from Bosch. We had plenty of chance to try it at Chrysler's very wet Chelsea, Michigan proving grounds. Besides quick, straight stops, we also preferred its modest brake pedal pulsation compared to the harsher feedback of some other anti-lock systems. All models come with 75 series 14-inch all-season Goodyear Invicta radial tires, and understandably, they are the type that put long tread wear above cornering power.
14-inch tires in a luxury sedan. How far have we come?
They also have low highway rolling resistance and help the 3-liter Dynasty New Yorkers deliver quite reasonable fuel economy ratings of 19 city and 26 highway. In matters of safety, the Chrysler C-Cars score 3 out of 5, but still lack front passive restraints and rear shoulder belts. So what do we like about the Dynasty New Yorker? Well, they're very roomy, quite luxurious, have good standard instrumentation, and offer anti-lock brakes as an option. We think they missed the boat on handling manners and exterior styling, and the interior trim looks dated. However, we expect buyers of these cars won't mind any of this. Base prices will range from $12,000 for a modestly equipped Dynasty to $19,500 for a loaded New Yorker Landau. As for main competitors, the Dodge Dynasty and Chrysler New Yorker are comparable to Cadillac's front-drive sedan DeVille. The Cadillac styling seems too much of a compromise between old and new, although we do think the Caddy's drivetrain and suspension performance are superior. Toyota's Cressida is also in the same class, but it doesn't offer front drive or as much interior room. What it does have is Toyota's great reputation for quality.
I never, ever thought that they would have picked the Cressida as a competitor, and I think that's... I'll talk about the dichotomy of these two Chrysler products in a minute, but the Cressida, I don't know. I expected a Lincoln or basically anything other than the Cressida.
If you think we're rather neutral about the Dodge Dynasty and Chrysler New Yorker, you're right. They're a good luxury sedan effort, but they appeal to taste that we no longer appreciate. They are new cars designed for older people. Yet Chrysler only needs to sell 150,000 units a year for the design to be a success, a very modest aspiration, we think, for a sound model that your grandparents should love.
You know, I don't know, guys. I'm stumbling over myself here, and I know I am. On the one hand, that was an underwhelming review. As they say at the end, they sound very neutral because they are. And I wonder, something was off about that review. They didn't take it to their track. They didn't do their 0 to 60 and their stopping, and something was different about this. Like they just borrowed a couple from Chrysler and then tooled around Chrysler's proving grounds. It's obvious they don't like it, but they don't want to say they don't like it because I think they think it's a pretty good car. It's just not for them. I can hear them waffling about it because that's how I'd feel about some cars. Gosh, it's not bad. It's just not what I want, right? And I think that's what we're hearing here. It's large. It's soft. It doesn't accelerate great. It doesn't handle because it's set up to be soft. It's supposed to have a good ride. You know, he talked about the low rolling resistance tires for wear, not handling. But then it had could have, with anti-lock brakes, really good stopping. This is not a performance sedan. This is the modern interpretation of the land yacht. There we go. Land barge, right? It's nowhere near as big as the 60s or 70s Cadillacs, but it was right-sized. And that interior, I really wondered why they didn't spend more time talking about the interior and its comfort. Instead, they wanted to talk about the rear seat didn't have a shoulder belt. I get the dash was out of date. That's a major turnoff to me. I would have liked almost anything better looking than that. But that looks like a wonderful place to spend time. I would love the opportunity to go drive an 88 New Yorker and an 88 Seville back to back. I suspect I'd like the Seville more, but this New Yorker does it for me. And I just like what Chrysler could do with their resources and with the platforms they had to make something that they loaded it up with the seats and they loaded it up with the technology and made something pretty competitive. And I like it. I like it a lot. Again, if I was in the market for that kind of car, because of the affinity I have towards Chryslers of the 80s and early 90s, I'd be tempted. I'd be a little tempted, but it does feel like you're settling a little bit. And while I don't remember the prices from the Seville when I did the 87 Seville, I believe it was, I seem to remember it's much more expensive. This Chrysler, totally loaded, 19,000, sign me up. I'd buy it right now, you know? So I think it's a strong value package for something that not terribly exciting, not terribly fast, but you know, could get in, throw your golf clubs, look at the size of the trunk, throw your golf clubs and a couple other things back there, and go cruising down the interstate for 4 hours on your way to the beach for the weekend. So let me know what you think, guys. If you had one, or if your family had one, let me know what you think. Either the New Yorker or the Dynasty. Do you remember why you bought it? How did it last? I mean, it's certainly that Mitsubishi engine and 3-speed transmission. Nothing here really says excitement, but I'd like to know what you thought of it. And I did promise I'd talk about the dichotomy here, and that is that I don't get the Dynasty. It's just a large car, but it's not a very good large car, right? It's a large, boring car, like the Chevy to a Cadillac or a Buick, right? And I think Chrysler competes more closely with, you know, a Buick or even an Oldsmobile at the time. The Dodge is like the Cadillac version, but, the Chevrolet version, the styling's okay. You know, I kind of like the front end. I don't really like the grille, but then there's nothing about it that says modern 88, let's go compete with the Ford Taurus. That's what I'm getting around to. The New Yorker, I think, can be explained because it's competing at a more luxury segment, and it was competing against Cadillac, and I don't think they really understood what was about to hit them in the face with Lexus and Infiniti. The Dynasty, on the other hand, competing more with that Taurus or the Lumina, just doesn't look competitive to me at all. I absolutely wouldn't pick one of those. So let me know what you think, guys. Appreciate you being here.